Welcome back to the rest of the story. Well, welcome to my office. And I've been thinking about planting like imagine every farmer right about now is thinking. It's currently 8 degrees out and chance of snow. And I'm going through my pile of goodies from the Louisville Farm Show, which I'm kind of kicking myself. I really wish I would have went down the northern end of the facility first, or of the show first, because it had a lot more of the small vendors and stuff like that. A lot of that like obscure stuff, and like I said, just stuff that is unique and stuff that's the kind of stuff I radiate towards. Well, one thing in particular is a power planter. It's a drill or it's an auger. Simple enough. I mean, different lengths and everything else like that, and different sizes, but it's meant for like your power drill. For like specifically, what they were advertising them for was for like planting stuff in your garden. So instead of having to dig a hole, you can just use the drill, and as most men would like to do, saves having to dig it out. The reason I'm showing you guys this, or at least bringing it up, uh, is because it was actually a booth that I saw this in, and everybody that's watching is probably aware of the fact that our harvester has given us some trouble here. It is fixed, but we had to dig it out a little bit to try to see if the sweep auger arm on the inside was working, and this little deal here would have been awesome to do that, because it would have allowed us to dig out the corn without having to do it by hand. Plus, it was a little bit frozen and kind of stuck in there. So being able to take like I think it was a 16-inch one as far as the length, um, and the 4-inch auger, it was just the right size to really do that. And yeah, I say good for mixing and small planter. Yeah, taking soil samples. I mean, it's amazing, especially when you start getting stuff in the hands of a farmer, all the different uses you can use it for, even not everything that's listed in the little pamphlet here. Um, as far as the harvester goes, I'm going to apologize right now because I did not do any footage on it. Go to Ryan's channel, and I think he's gotten it pretty well covered because I didn't have my camera on me. It's kind of a cheap exit strategy, but I just didn't have my camera on me. So luckily enough, Ryan did have his, so he's got footage of us putting it back together. It wasn't too bad, just trying to get the auger when we had to slide the auger back in. There's a square shaft in the center of the silo that goes into a gearbox that actually runs a sweep auger in the silo. It took a little bit of finagling to get it sunk in, because we did have corn in the center of the silo that we actually had to kind of auger it in. We had to turn it in and actually got it to lock in that way. It worked great, but just getting it done. We did go with the reman. Oh gosh, I'm going away from my whole planting video. We did go with the reman. The reason we went with the reman is because Dad and I ran up to Dodgeville. The guys were at the shop, and they looked at ours and said that it was an older gearbox. But he said the problem is, other with us getting the parts to fix it, he said there's a special tool that we need to take one of the gears out. And the problem is, when you start talking, you need this special tool, and you need to do it at this specific tolerance and everything else like that. Really quickly, it gets to we're probably not qualified to do it. Probably could do it and probably get it together, but then the question is how long is it going to hold together the way we put it together? And the gearbox that was on there, it lasted for right around 40 years, give or take 5 years, because I'm not sure the exact year Grandpa put that silo in. But that was the first time that it has given us that kind of trouble before. We have changed the oil in it before. We have put new oil in it before. The thing was getting attention. It's just it was used really heavily, basically all the way up to 2014, and then we weren't using it quite so much. We do put our cattle feed into it. I mean, we fill it with enough feed to fill out the cows that we're feeding for the next 12 months until we get back into harvest again. It's handy. It's there. It's a relic. It's not old enough to be called a relic, I guess, but it's something from the dairy operation that is still usable that we can use, and it's handy because it is inside. Oh, excuse me. It is sheltered. It keeps the wind and everything from getting to you, and it allows us to take ground rolled corn out of the silo because when we put it in as either shelled corn or even moisture corn, we can put up to, I think 25% is the highest we really want to put it in there, because then you got to worry about it freezing in there, and then it's just a complete nightmare. Um, but then we got the roller mill down at the bottom of the silo that the auger dumps right into. You guys, I'm sure you've seen it. And it rolls that corn out, it cracks it open, so when the cows eat it, it's easy to digest. I mean, that's the way to go as far as I'm concerned. I like that route. I don't like feeding whole shelled corn because it seems like the cows are basically running it straight through and out the back. A lot more. You see a lot more of the corn in their manure, and I really don't like seeing that. I like to know that they're processing the grain that they're getting. So while we were up there, I'm just gonna have to label this the harvester video. I'm sorry, guys. I'll do another video about my planting stuff. We were up there. We did ask them about what it would take to convert a hay harvester over to grain storage. The one at Rockville in particular is the one we're talking about. I'm not saying this like we're going to be doing this anytime soon, but it's definitely considering our options. And what we're currently thinking is converting that hay harvester up at Rockville, putting in the aeration floor in it because we'd have to put a fan on it, even if we are just going to use it for storage and not for drying, because the unloader would have to come out. We have to put a different auger in it, and I think you said that we could go through and drill out, or not drill out, but cut out a new hole in the side of the silo, down at the bottom, for an unloading auger, so we don't have to have it unload into the grain room and then have to get creative as far as how we're going to get the corn from the grain room out and around to the semi. So that is a big plus. We didn't talk about prices or nothing like that. It's just that, being realistic, we're not going to be doing silage in the harvester at Rockville ever again. It's just the long and the short of it. I know a lot of people aren't really going to like to hear that. But the cement silo at Rockville is junk. It's not junk. We just don't have any desire to use it. The feed bunk needs to be completely revamped at Rockville to reuse it. And honestly, we got like this close. I mean, the only reason we didn't do it is because we got right up to the farm day and we just didn't have time to do it. We were planning on taking the skid steer, the rock bucket, some creative maneuvering, and we were thinking about pulling that feed bunk up at Rockville out. We got to do fences and revamp our cattle handling facilities, and that's just going to be one of the things that's probably going to be a victim of that. As far as the harvester goes, the plan is, well, in my eyes, what I see doing is, I do know people do it. I know people have done it. I know that it's like 2 miles up the road from us that I've seen people do it, where they actually go through and they cut a hole, which people don't like hearing that, cutting a hole into these structures, but they actually have a door that you actually physically, you open up and you back your grain auger into the side of the silo up 30, 40, 50 feet, however high up you decide to do it. And then that way they're able to fill the harvesters with dry shell corn, which is what we would be we'd be pulling out of our grain bins because we'd have it dried down, and depositing the dried shelled corn right into the harvester for storage for X amount of time, for a couple months to next summer or whatever else. Because it would be nice to be able to store as much corn as humanly possible on the farm. I don't like selling anything in the fall if I can get away from it. So, and we do sell our soybeans off the farm. I mean, we try to. Last year we didn't, but and there you go again. Instead of using the harvester for corn storage, we could use it for soybean storage. At least for the 5 to 6 months it takes for us to get them off the farm. So I don't know. It's definitely something to think about. Definitely down the road here, if it wouldn't cost too overly much, that you could justify putting in the work to converting that silo over to a storage structure, as opposed to just putting in a new grain bin. Of course, it was just quoted to me, just kind of off the hip, because he wasn't quite sure. He didn't have the numbers in front of him, but he did tell us at the time that we could put in another 10,000 or 10 to 15,000 bushel bin, similar to the one that is up there right now that has started to collapse. We could replace that one with something similar for 15 to 17,000 for the bin in itself. That doesn't include concrete, electrical, or the labor to put it up, but that really doesn't sound too bad. So I could definitely see us putting in another 10 to 15,000 bushel bin, and then having it set up for storing soybeans. At least one bin. I don't see us having to go through and put 1, 2, 3 bins in for soybeans, but just one good, reliable bin for storing our soybeans so we could sell them down the road here is definitely, I think, the way to go. So, and another 20 to 50,000 bushel corn bin for holding at least the rest of our corn that we sell. But as we're expanding here, the amount of actual on-farm storage that we actually need is a constant moving target. Our current storage needs for on the farm is actually different now than what it was during harvest. And it was different during harvest than what it was in July. So it's always best when you're talking about on-farm storage to basically just figure high, then add like another 20 to 30,000 to 50,000 to 100,000 bushels on top of what you think you need. I'd rather have too much storage than not enough. So, because otherwise you're slamming all of your current storage bins to the roof and still having to sell some out down the road, which isn't fun. It's never fun. You never want to be forced into having to sell grain, because then you're usually panic selling and you're not getting your highest dollar for them. At least that's the way I see it. Definitely me and Ryan are doing that more. Somebody was asking me in that last video, or video a while back, about what was it? Removing the gearbox, or I can check real quick here if you guys are still watching. Pulling the grain auger out of harvester. Somebody made the comment of, why is Ryan always on his phone? Ryan is much like me. We're constantly on our phones, between checking YouTube, which somebody did say that. Yeah, we are checking YouTube, watching comments, watching the statistics on stuff. Plus, Ryan does a lot of stuff. I do a lot of stuff on our phones as far as managing our crop sales and everything else like that. And if people aren't really aware of what's going on with the government and with China, we are watching the grain markets daily, and they're fluctuating. I guess Ryan saw it today. I dropped the ball. I really wasn't watching the corn prices. Ryan said corn was up at one point, up 7 cents, and it was down 7 cents, and it was a roller coaster. Right now, we are looking at corn is down 4.5 cents. The basis has not moved. Basis is currently 34 cents under. For April, it's 52 cents under for February. And for October, it is 50 cents under. That sounds absolutely terrible. Soybeans are up a penny, but the basis is oof, ouch. The basis is 65 cents under right now. And no offense to anybody that I may have just offended by saying that it's only 65 cents under. I know there's some people that say they got a basis of like $1.15 under the futures price, but that's where we're at. It helps when you're right on the river though too. So I think what I'm gonna do, because it is, well, we're looking down the barrel of March. I'm going to do another video trying to talk about what I was starting to talk about from my brochures at the farm show. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining in with the video, listening to me talk. And I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you're staying warm. Hope you're staying safe. I hear somebody just got in an accident. Oh, I say I hear somebody. I guess it was out in Iowa. Somebody got hurt in a snowmobile. High-speed collision. So make sure you're staying safe, whatever you're doing. So until next time, take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I'll talk to you then.
And now you know the rest of the story.